Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today for a special interview. I have a returning friend here to talk about her new film, Cold Meat, which is going to be available on digital and on demand February 17th. Nina, welcome back. It's been a while, but I'm so
I
happy to have
know.
you here. The
Oh
hair
my
is
God, my
back.
hair grew back.
Yes. And in reference to that joke, folks, you got to
Yeah.
check out all of her other projects. We are definitely referencing Hell Hath No Fury, one of my favorite films, which has been about 3 years now. So it's been it's been a pandemic of a break between the two of us. So I definitely want to start off by saying,
Wow.
since the filming of that film and since the release of that film, how has life been? What have you been up to? How did you cope during the pandemic? All that good stuff.
Oh wow, these are big questions. These are very big questions. Um, but I mean, I did shoot Hell Hath No Fury in the pandemic.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
that was in the
Mhm.
pandemic. So I finished that, and then there was an actor strike right after that. So it's like 1, 2.
Yes,
Yeah, this
indeed.
year.
Mhm.
Yeah. But now finally things are coming out. But I just got super creative. I created a bunch of stuff. And
Yeah.
which one of the projects, actually two of them. One is the first quarter of this year that we're gonna start. So yeah, I just create. I can't sit still.
And I love that about you. Of course you can. Yeah, we'll be definitely getting a peek at what is to come at the end of this for sure.
Yeah.
But talking about Cold Meat, so given the opportunity to check this out. Well, there's two things with this film for me. The first thing is I know that this film had did very well at Fright Fest of last year, and I was not able to attend that uh film festival. And as a big horror connoisseur and enthusiast and whatever you want to call it, buff, I had heard about this, and my friend was telling me about, like, hey, you got to check this out. Just how it's shot and just like the claustrophobicness and some of the messages that's within it as well. I was like, let me see what you're talking about. And I was like, so my friend is in that film. I have to see it when it comes out. So I've been targeting this for a while, and lo and behold, an opportunity presents, and finally getting a chance to watch it. Now, as somebody who's just been watching your work for a very long time, and for somebody much like you just said who can't sit still, this happens to be a film that completely challenges you in a way I've never seen it. Can you talk to me about looking at the script? Wasn't going to be so much choreography with the hand-to-hand skill that you have here, a little bit in there, but nonetheless, it's very claustrophobic, very small, very close, big, very much written on the characters and the more or less the psychology of the characters. Kind of goes down to a psychological aspect of it as well. But for you, when you looked at the script, what was just some of the excitements, but also some of the segments for the role, but some of the things you knew was really going to test you.
Well, the first thing that attracted me was that it was written like a play. It felt like a play, and I come from the theater, so I was like, "Oh my god, a play in a movie." And then my gut instinct was, "Oh, no, I can't do that. Yeah, no, no, that's not me. Whatever that is, that
Yeah.
character, not me. I don't know why they want me, because it was a direct offer. And I was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, all American girl working in a no, no." I was like, "No," was my gut instinct, right? And I could feel like I got that, feeling
Yeah.
like, "Oh." And then I was like, "Well, I mean, the director sees something in you that you don't see in yourself." And I was like, "And there is an arc in my character." And I was like, I was like, "If you're completely honest with yourself, Nina, you used to be Anna,
Mm.
before you became, my middle name is Nina Maria Bergman. When I grew up in Denmark, everyone called me Maria. And I was
Mm.
shy girl who didn't speak up, who got taken advantages of, who was in abusive relationships, who didn't have a voice. And then, I moved away from 14, and I was like, my name is Nina now Bergman, not Maria. That character is dead. And this is the new me. And I, started doing martial arts and boxing, and I created this no, I wouldn't say create. I brought this side out of myself that I knew was in there of who I wanted to be. So I was like, do I want to go back to that little Maria girl? You know what I mean? And draw from that. And I was like,
Mm,
and I was like, you know what? But she finds herself. The beautiful
yeah,
thing is she didn't do what I did. She didn't go change her name. She didn't go do all that. But she was even stronger than me. She just went inside herself, because I think the differences between me and her is she has a daughter. I don't
yeah,
think she could do it for herself, but the transition she needed to make, she did for her daughter. So
yeah,
that was, what, I like things that scare me, you know.
yeah,
Oh yeah, it was very challenging for me. So I was like, I'm in.
yeah,
Let's do it. Yeah.
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 Yeah, cause I ain't gonna lie, the first, what, 15, 20 minutes of the film, I was like, "Yeah, no, Anna the Nina I know ain't gonna let anybody rough her up." So, for a moment, I'm just rooting for my friend here. I'm just like, "She's not gonna let anybody rough her up." So,
Yeah.
whatever's about to happen is gonna happen. But Alan's character too, which we'll talk about, was, like, really shocking. The immediate twist in the film is what really locked me in gear, because I just did not see either of your characters end up in the predicament that it was. And I love that, because as we start to tell more stories in Hollywood, we want to see some different things, and this one definitely threw me for a twist, bright and early. But before we get into like the specifics of the plot, I'm gonna go continue on the themes, because you mentioned how Anna's character really pulled for motivation, to survive, to really tap into a safe a space when everything seemed dark around her. What are some of your motivations? And when you reflect back into some of your most difficult times in your life, what has been some of those driving factors or motivational things around you that kept you going?
I mean, very much like Anna. I had four younger siblings and two younger sisters, and I didn't want them to go through what I went through. And I always felt like I couldn't do certain things because I was a role model for them. So they kind of kept me straight. So they weren't my kids, but I, spent a lot of time with them. And I just was very adamant about I did not want them to go through what I went through.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was like what kept me kind of on a straight line. And then, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, everything happened to me that could happen to a person. I left home
mhm,
at 14. So, to London, and then Moscow at 15, and then New York, so it's like everything, from, I mean, I don't even, anything that can happen to a girl, from eating disorder, suicide attempt, rape. I mean, you name it. It was like
yeah,
check, 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 check. And then somehow, when you're completely depleted, you have two choices. Either you just do it right next time,
yeah,
or you somehow just, you don't have the faith or the belief, but you just put one foot in front of the other. You don't need to know how it's going to work out, and then you just, you know sleeping on a bench in Central Park, it doesn't, like, you know what I mean, with no
yeah,
direction and no money and not knowing how. You just somehow wake up, you find a gym, you take a shower, you at the time find Backstage, you send out applications, I became a dishwasher. I mean, I just took one foot in front of the other, and I somehow just didn't know how. I just knew I have two choices: either I don't do it, or I just do it. And then, I listened to a lot of inspirational speakers. I found a
yeah,
12-step program. And I mean, I still do it. I still go to my 12-step programs. That's my life. And I still, my last 5 years of obsession has been David Goggins. I'm obsessed with him. I read all his books. I'm like, you know what I mean? Whenever I feel low, I mean, stay hard. Come
yeah,
on, Nina, like, I think we all, like, it doesn't go away. It's
yeah,
not like, okay, now it's gone, and I'm on top of the world. I think it's a ongoing process. I just don't live down there anymore. I just
yeah,
don't fall into those holes, but I have tools now to get myself up. I just don't live there. That
yeah.
makes
No, it absolutely does. And this is from our talk some years ago is the reason why I love you is because like you continue to show what I feel is the most beautiful trait in humanity, and that's resilience. And you do it in a positive light. And it's interesting because I think even I took away from our last talk is how motivational you are, and it's interesting that you continue to sort of bathe in motivation from others, but while you are also giving back, whether you know it or not. And that's why I think your body of work speaks for itself. And I think you're totally going to be an inspiration for many more to come, whether it is just a young girl who doesn't know what they want to do in life, or an aspiring actress, model, songwriter, dancer. I mean, you name it. You got the whole list of different paths that you've been down. So, one way or another, folks are going to find something positive to take from you. So, and
Mm,
folks, y'all should fall in love with her too, because this is what you get.
well, thank you.
Absolutely. So the funny thing about this film was, and I started to think, I was like, I wonder if you actually did know all of this. How knowledgeable are you with the human body and anatomy? There's a lot of, like, I guess they call it like dumb knowledge or dumb facts when you hear about like how the body sort of cope in terms of self preservation and in extreme situation. And there's some dialogue between your character's Alan character about being in a blizzard and what the body will do, how it will respond, and how there's means of surviving through this. Did you know any of this, or was this like new knowledge to you when you read the script?
I mean, I had to study all of that. I mean, I didn't I'm a big fan of Wim Hof. I take cold showers and ice baths. That's about, all I know. But this is like a different level of cold, you know? I had to study Ellen's character because it's actually based on two real characters, so I had to watch all those interviews because I thought it was fictional. I didn't know that
Mm,
a lot of the dialogue and things were lifted from those characters. So there was that whole aspect where I was traumatized and didn't sleep for a long time because I was like, wow,
yeah,
that's I didn't know. And then the whole aspect of what happens when you're in the cold, all the things and how you shut down and how you react and
yeah,
how yeah, well, I mean, there were so many layers to this one.
yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
lot of layers.
Yeah, I gotta go do a little bit more research too. But I remember when upon my first watch, I was like, "Wait, is this true?" But I was like, "Well, it kind of does, kind of check, uh, check out." But it was interesting, as I think they call it dumb knowledge, but it was just interesting to be able to get some of those facts in there, while everything's kind of progressing, all the spookiness that's happening. And my biggest takeaway from this film is I want no parts of the Colorado Rockies ever. So good luck to anybody else who may want it or who lives in that terrain, but no, sir. For you, just truly, how cold was it? Talk about the filming process here, because if you weren't in the element, you sure as hell portrayed like you were, and I was cold here, and I was just like, just nothing. I don't want no parts of this. But talk about the filming process. Did they put you in some terrain, or was this in the sound stage, or how did they go about this?
Well, we had both. We had the car that was outside in the actual location, and then they had a car on soundstage for the more complicated shots. And even in the beginning scenes where I was a waitress, I couldn't even wear the tights because they would freeze into my skin. So we had to change my whole wardrobe. It was cold. We shot in Canada, and it was cold. I mean, at night and then windy, and it was cold. And I thought it was tough because I'm all Wim Hof and stuff. I remember too, my character lived there and is used to the cold and the mountains. And I was struggling. I mean, it was cold. Like I couldn't think.
Yeah,
You just don't want to do anything. You just want to sit and which works for the characters, which
yeah.
worked very much so. And the soundstage was actually harder for me because I was like, please open the windows and please make it cold because you're sitting there with tons of lights, sweating in all of that wardrobe. And to me, that was almost harder. I like working in
Mm.
sets much more than on a soundstage.
There you have it.
Yeah.
And we have to absolutely give all the respect and credit as it is due to the makeup and costume design folks because man, just to see just the progressions of the frostbite and just the skin becoming more and more pale and brittle. So talk about the transformation, talk about that crew. And what other type of conversations did you have in terms of understanding how they were going to go about this process with you?
Well, it was very detailed because, one of those elements, if that didn't work, the whole movie would be ruined. Bad makeup would ruin the whole movie.
Yeah.
So I was very adamant. I was very, maybe a little bit of pain in the butt, but I was very, but Ikira that did the makeup. She she was amazing.
Yeah.
She was amazing, and I realized the depth of, she's really studied. She really did her homework. She was really prepared. She was one of those makeup artists that would come with like moisturizing masks because she's like, after I'm gonna completely dry you out, with all of the prosthetics and all of that stuff. And yeah, it was and then I would do some studying just to see what happens when you freeze that much and to see what the color is. And I thought she was spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was freaky, especially when I saw it on Alan because I couldn't see it on myself, but I watched Alan and yeah, it looked good on him. So yeah, it all helped getting into the character, all those little things.
Yeah, it definitely is not a good Friday night date night look. It's very terrifying. I see why Fright Fest decided to award you all with tons of award last 2023. And the other thing too, and to talk a little bit about Alan because he's such a likable guy and he's done a lot of roles where you invest in his character in a way that is more or less positive, sure we'll just say. Um, or you end up him playing his character David, who's just a complete psychopath who belongs on the ID channel or some level of murder mystery or true crime. Because I mean, the really tap into this psychopathic nature, this serial killer nature, is what a tremendous job by him, and I think it only works as well in terms of the movie is if you are able to counteract that with your own measure of survival, your own measure of will, distressed at times. It was a good game of chess, and it's frightening because I think, and I did not know this was semi based on real events, but you start to think that you start to think like the complexities of this is that like these things could actually happen, and this has got to be top tier, the most frightening way for a woman that just wants to get home to her daughter to potentially in her life, maybe her last day breathing, moments of survival, and the future's not looking so certain. So I think for me, and better yet, to ask you, when you had to tap into your character, and I know you said you did the research. Two questions for you here. When you had to tap into the character, what type of like preparation, and I don't mean so much studying, but what type of just like the cleansing of the mind and the soul to really get into his character, and then on the other end, what did you have to do to kind of wash it off?
Mm, well, I had to you know, go there to who I used to be, because Anna is a victim. She works she's a regular girl who's struggling, works in the diner, and lives with her mom. She probably doesn't have any friends. Her daughter's her whole life. So I had to really like go back to, feeling that victimized and not have any choices. And this was just what I was given. And she just accepted her faith, and then
Yeah.
being in a abusive relationship on top of it. And I've had plenty of those. So I know all about it. I know the mind space. So it was not very fun for me to go there. And then also Anna doesn't work out like I do. She eats crap probably. She lives. So I ate crap. I didn't work out. I put on a bunch of weight and I was miserable.
Yeah.
I was completely miserable. I couldn't focus because had so much shitty food in me, and I remember one night I just sat and I was just like, Nina, why are you doing this to yourself? I just want to cry. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
that's Anna. She's probably completely overwhelmed. She lives there with her daughter, with her mom, and she works in this shitty diner. And then Mr. Charming comes in and saves her, and yeah, so that whole process, I lived in that super um yeah, low grade depression. I had a low grade
Mm,
like the other actors would go out and have drinks and eat dinner, and it was an amazing crew. The whole
yeah.
crew was amazing. There were some really great people. And I just went back to my room, ate my shitty food, and studied some more and went to bed. And it was slightly depressing shooting the whole thing, but and then Alan, he's so good. I mean, he's just so good. He can snap in and out of it. I mean, he
Yeah.
did his work, but he doesn't have to stay there like me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do that in and out thing. I'm
Yeah.
method. Yeah. Yeah, he's incredible like that.
Yeah, and I mean, because I mean, there's a particular scene in the film, and just chime in at any point of this, but when Anna holds David accountable for his actions in the list,
Mm,
and it's hard to not feel some type of way when hearing this, because whether these are just characters for the film or whether these are actually reference to real events, these are somehow, some way proxies of somebody, no
mhm,
matter where you look at it. And I mean, whether you want to say it happened last year, a couple of years ago, or tonight,
mhm,
these things are so frequent that your mind start to really understand that, like, these things actually happen on a day-to-day basis, and it's real. It gets real. And so you completely sympathize with Anna, and then you become so emotionally attached to this character because you want to see the happy ending of a story that, let's just say, 90% of the time doesn't have a happy ending, and,
mm,
and it's horrific. And I just couldn't help but to just think about you personally, because I'm just thinking, like, this is such a tough role for women to, and I know your journey and you shared it with me and you've been talking about it today, but like, these things have to be triggering, and then whether you are self-reflecting or other folks that you know, and then again I talk about you using your platform to be a beacon of hope for others, so which means you've been obviously engaged for other people's stories as well too. This is a lot. It's a lot. And to turn this into something positive, I have to just commend you on your performance again.
mm.
This was completely challenging for you, because as somebody that watches your stuff and knowing that I'm ready to see you kick ass each and every film, for you to not even be able to tap into your safe space is is rough. It's rough. So I need folks to understand that this performance that you put on is, maybe you won't do it again, but you've done it once and you've done it at a top tier level, and I really appreciate the
Mm,
work for that.
thank you. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Absolutely. Um Now there's a creature in this.
The myth. Remember, it's a legend.
It is. It's a myth. It's a legend.
Myth.
I love and hate the tease, because I always love a good creature reveal, and I think they did it in the way that's had me desiring to want more. That's the hate part of it, because I'm like, oh, give me the whole thing. I don't want the appetizer. Give me the whole entree here. Um, since we as the viewers don't get to see the whole thing, and clearly the makeup and costume design folks really put their foot into this film with you all's makeup and prosthetics. What was your reaction? Because you obviously got to see the whole thing of our creature that loomed in the shadows within this blizzard.
Well, here's the thing. The director started in special effects. He was very successful. He's a French director living in France.
Okay.
Um, so there was no creature
Oh,
because
it wasn't practical. Oh, they had me fooled there.
yeah, because but he's so good with the special effects. Like a lot of the snowstorms and that, it was just cold, but there was no storm. They were literally with like a leaf blower on my hair, and then the batteries would run out half the time. We had to keep reshooting it. So he had to do a lot of special effects. But he's so brilliant. I mean, the behind the scenes of filmmaking is just ridiculous. I'm there with a leaf blower, and I had to stay in the moment. And the leaf blower, I almost lost it. There's like a scene where I was like, just fucking fix the leaf blower, because I only have so many takes in me, to go there. You know, you're standing there with a leaf blower because there's no wind. Yeah, it was there was a lot of challenging, like this movie was just challenging in every way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know how to, but all I can say is the director saved it by his special effects. I mean, you can't even tell his special effects. You can't
Not
even
that,
tell
not at all. I absolutely thought it was practical.
brilliant. And then he did the music and all of that sound and the music. That's
Yeah.
him. So in that sense, we lucked out, because he really, we acted it, but it wasn't, it was just cold, but not like that.
Yeah.
The wind and all of that wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was acted.
Does this creature or monster, does it represent anything metaphorical?
Well, it's, it is a real Native American legend. That
Okay.
one is real. It is real, and it did do what was deserved, you know. Um, I guess it's up to the individual to decide if it's
I'm with you.
exists
I'm
or
with you.
not.
Yeah. Yep.
He didn't believe in it. I did. My character believed in it very much.
Yep. Okay, cool. We're on the same page. Man, you good at like giving an answer without giving a spoiler there. That's perfect answer. I read right between the lines on that one. And I think for my final question in terms of the film is, was there ever a moment that Anna ever sympathized for David and his doings and his background and so on? Was there ever a moment?
Oh yeah. Quite a few times, you know, she turns on the heat for him, at
True.
times. She, shines some light on his leg when he's hurt so he can see. I mean, he constantly gives him chances
Yeah. Yeah.
when she shouldn't have the chances, how I was so many. I mean, she just wants to believe in the best in people, and she
Yeah.
gives him all these chances that he doesn't deserve, in
Hmm.
Nina's opinion. But that's why I loved doing it with Alan, because he was so convincing. Because you couldn't help feeling for him, because sometimes it just felt like it wasn't his fault, he was just messed up. And, hurt people. And, yeah. So, no, I think that there was plenty of those moments, otherwise the movie wouldn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she is a mother. And I think the whole underlying plot is, he's like, you have it in you too, that, whatever, that evilness. And I'm like, no. And then finally, he starts drawing things out of Anna that she didn't even know she had. But when it
Yeah.
comes to her daughter, when mothers, I think with mothers, when it comes to their kids, they have superpowers. I read a story in preparation for this movie about this woman who lifted a truck. Her kid was stuck underneath the truck, and it's physically impossible. I mean, she can't technically do it, but mothers can do things for their kids. It's
Yeah.
like mothers have superpowers. So I think that's what Anna had. She had a superpower that, yeah, made her do things for her daughter.
Firmly agree. I will say, I thought it was funny. It's pretty early in the film where Anna says to David, "If you talk about my daughter one more time, I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah.
And I'm like, did she already say that? And I thought it was completely hilarious, because I thought there are people that, in terms of calling people's bluff, where it's like, oh, she really don't want to do this. So she's giving him like the, hey, I will do this. And if you talk about her again, I will. And then he did it again. I was like, wait, she gave him another pass. So I was like, I wonder if she is really, in some way, somehow sympathizing for her own situation, but for him. Then you talked about the different examples. The body heat one is when I really was convinced. I was like, oh, I think she really is like, at some way, some form, trying to spare this man. But he's gonna do what he's gonna do, and then the fate of the movie happens, whatnot. But we will leave it to folks to check it out. Again, Code Meat. You can check it out digitally and on demand February 17th. You can get information about this film at kino.studios.com. And that way you can get a digital premiere there. They got some Q&A with the cast and some other goodies on the sites as well. But Nina, because we got to talk, as I mentioned in the beginning of this, we need to know what you're going to be up to very soon. You say you got 2 projects coming down the pipeline in 2024. Are you able to share any additional information about that? And if not, you certainly need to direct the folks where we can keep up for the information once it becomes available.
Yeah, I mean, I have the one with Aaron Eckhart come out May 24th. Chief of Station.
Chief of Station.
Chief of Station, Aaron Eckhart. Action, fun. My character is unlike anything I've ever played, so that one I'm excited to see. I haven't seen it. And the 2 other ones, all I can say is the first one that I'm shooting this first quarter of this year is with motorcycles.
There's that. Real quick, talking about Chief of Station. First of all, anything directed by Jesse V. Johnson, you already know Jesse, because Jesse, I tend to steer my way when he got a film coming out. Looking at the names here, I can ensure that you will be kicking some butt in this one. So I will be looking forward to that. The cast looks phenomenal right now. Daniel Bernhardt, who you are familiar with as well too, and as you mentioned, Aaron Eckhart. So looking to see that one, and you said keep eyes out for that later 2024.
Yeah, it comes out in May, so yeah,
indeed.
I think that one is going to be fun.
Well, folks, that's all you all going to get today. I will continue to catch up, my friend. But as you know now, you have things you need to do. You need to go check out Code Meat. I gave you that information earlier, but you can just look in the description below. That will get you to its release, and just keep up with Nina and all her projects coming up. Truly a kindred spirit, and an amazing person both on and off screen. And as always, Nina, it's a pleasure to have you here talking about all things you.
Thank you. I'm super happy to be on, and I'm so glad that you related to the movie. Not a lot of people have watched it, just very few people.
Yeah.
So it's really fun to hear the feedback, like I didn't know if it was going to work. You don't know until you know. So because I'm excited about it. Yes,
indeed, as you should, and as folks should, because after the rave after Fright Fest, I knew I had to check this out, and it totally delivered. So, folks, you get out there, go support it. Let us know in the comments your thoughts about it once you do check it out. And as always, stick around. We got more reviews, content, all that other good stuff here at Big Old Belt Media, coming to you very soon. Thank you for watching, folks. I